In this video, I'm going to explain how to complete assignment 1.1, where you've got to write a program that takes three numbers and prints their sum. So what that's saying is it wants you to get the user to enter three different numbers and then add those numbers together and output the result. You can see we've already got some code there, and the best thing to do is probably run what we've already got and just see what happens. So what that's doing is it's asking us to input two numbers rather than three, and it's summing those two numbers together and then outputting the result. So 10 plus 10 is obviously 20. To complete this, then all I need to do is add some extra Python code. So I'm going to create a third variable because we've got three numbers, and I'm going to set the value of that equal to what the user enters. Now in our print statement, we also just need to add C to our total as well. It should ask me for three numbers and output the result of adding those together, and that is how you complete assignment 1.1. At this point, it's probably worth spending a couple of minutes just explaining what is actually going on in our program that we just created that takes three numbers, adds them together and outputs the result. So on lines 1 and 8, you can see the text is green, but also at the start of those lines we've got a hash symbol. Now what that means is those lines are comments. As you'll discover in the week 2 theory, we can use commenting to provide understanding or notes throughout our code, so that when we refer back to it or when someone else looks at it and they can't quite work out what the code's doing, just by looking at it they can gather an understanding of it from reading your comments. In line 2, we're creating a variable A. So our variable names there are A, B and C. We've got three variables. In line 2 we're creating a variable called A, and we're setting the value of that variable to whatever the user inputs. That keyword there, int, which is on lines 2, 3 and 4, what that's doing is simply converting whatever the user inputs into an integer or a whole number. Now I want you to find out what happens if we omit the keyword int, or rather why we need to include that keyword int in our program, and then shoot me a message or an email with your answer for that. On line 6, all we're doing is using the built-in function print, which just outputs whatever you want it to output in the brackets, to output the result of adding A, B and C together. Another way we could do this program is to create a fourth variable, and we'll call it D, and we could set the value of D to A plus B plus C, and then in our print statement we could simply output D, and we would get the same result if all goes to plan, and you can see we do. So a variable in programming is simply it's like a container for storing data or storing information, and you can see in our program we've now got four variables storing various pieces of data. So A, B and C, those variables store what the user enters, and our variable D that we've just created, that stores the sum of adding what the user enters together. And then in line 8 we're outputting that obviously.